challenges is to perpetually be able to generate information, which means that you have to have basically people out there in the field who are able all the time quickly to funnel up the chain of command the most recent facts and information. You can keep the press occupied at your place by informing them. If you come out and say, sorry, no news today, we don't have anything to say today, nothing has happened, then the press go and talk to your adversaries or your rivals and competitors. And then, instead of you dominating the news agenda with your information, you are reacting to somebody else's information, and you are on the back foot. I mean, I remember during Kosovo that our biggest enemy was the weather. There was lots of clouds over Yugoslavia, and I would come into the office in the morning and say, right, what are the facts today? Nothing happened, Jamie. All of the operations were cancelled. I thought, well, I've got a news conference at 3 o'clock. I can't say nothing happened today. So we had to sort of invent things. No. Do not misunderstand me. When I say invent things, I do not mean lies or create untruths. No. You can't do that, believe me. When I say invent things, we had to sort of have a story. So we would say, right, let's get a pilot to come and spend a news conference talking about my experience flying over Yugoslavia and how we NATO pilots get on with each other and how an F-16 works, and even how we prevent collateral damage. Yes, we spent the whole time on that. The key thing was to feed the beast. You have something to say, have a story, keep them occupied, because a bored journalist is a hostile journalist. So information is essential. The next thing, of course, is timing. One of the mistakes that we made in the Kosovo campaign was that we had our press conference every afternoon at 3 o'clock. But journalists are not prepared to do nothing between 8 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, we had this in Afghanistan. The Americans were basically starting their briefings after 9/11 at sort of 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when everybody in Asia was sleeping and everybody in Europe was at the disco. I'm thinking, well, God, why is it we're not having an impact? And of course, the BBC were starting all of their morning breakfast programs with what the Taliban spokesman, this single guy with a turban in Peshawar, was telling the news, and and because he occupied a vacuum, nobody else was producing anything. It was too early for Europe, it was too late for Washington, and therefore, if your message is coming out in the middle of the night, when nobody's listening, but your competitors or adversaries are dominating the breakfast cycle, again, you are in a mode where you are only reacting. So the key thing is, he who dominates breakfast dominates the day. Napoleon said, le monde appartient à ceux qui se lèvent tôt. Well, the world belongs to those who broadcast early. And remember that. If you look at the news cycle, it's inevitably a set of reactions, of corrections, of additions to what comes out in the morning. So you must have a night shift. You can't go home at 10 o'clock and leave things to 8 o'clock in the morning. You've got to have as many people working during the night, getting facts, crafting stories, writing texts, as you have during the day. The media have a night shift. Media have a night shift, believe me. We had at NATO, them sleeping out in sleeping bags and coffee machines and so on. And, we now have a 24-hour news cycle. It's always prime time somewhere. And we now have an increasingly integrated news cycle. The days when you could print something in New Zealand and it would never be picked up, they're gone. What's happening at 2 o'clock is determining what's happening at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is determining what's happening at 9 o'clock. So not only do you have to monitor the news, but you have to be prepared all the time to feed it. There's no empty space any longer when you can sort of stop and say, time out, half time, roost, and start thinking and re-strategizing. No, you have to be doing that and communicating at the same time. The next principle is credibility. Journalists basically work on the basis of trust. They go to people they know who are not going to lie to them, who are going to give the bad news, who are going to spin. Yes, they're going to, obviously, if you're a Catholic, you are expected to believe in the Pope and God, but who at the same time are also going to be honest and accurate with information. So how do you do this? Well, the first principle, of course, is don't give the facts until you know the facts. It sounds obvious, but the media are excellent to putting you under pressure. And sometimes you will say anything simply to get them off your backs. Yes, I confirm that. It is also, all of us have an ideology. I mean, I remember during the Kosovo crisis, when we had the first stories of NATO hitting a tractor or a convoy and killing civilians accidentally. The reaction of our military commanders is, we don't do that. Absurd propaganda. We're the good guys. Good guys don't do bad things, do they? This can't be true. I do not want it to be true, therefore it isn't true. It cannot be true. And so we had military commanders who immediately denied it. And of course, it subsequently happened, as you know, that all of this was true. And we lost a great deal of our credibility. It's better to say nothing and then give the story later than to give the story and have to correct it. So how do you manage this? Okay, something has happened. First of all, get on a conference call to all of the important people in your organisation. What do we know? What do we don't know? What do we need to know? When can we know it? Okay, how much do we know now? What's our line to the media? Right, that's what we're going to say now. We're going to find out this, that. In 1 hour, we're going to have another conference call and we're going to update our information and then give the story. So that we give the story only on the basis of the facts we know. Don't be sort of pressurised into saying things that you're not totally certain about. And then the next thing is, if you've made a mistake, the temptation is always to say, well, the media don't know about this yet, I'm going to keep it secret. Wrong. If you've made a mistake, there is a 99% certainty that the media will find out about it sooner or later. It's therefore much better to volunteer that mistake in advance and be the person who volunteers it. I mean, I remember at the end of the Kosovo campaign, our military were much better at collecting information. So in the morning, I could go in front of them and say, okay, guys, this time round, I'm going to tell you immediately that we've hit the wrong target, blah, 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 blah. Any questions? Zero. Because what was interesting for the media was the story of NATO gets it wrong, not the story of NATO gets it right. I was staggered that during the Jakovica tractor convoy incident, where we put information out in drips, like you give half a Big Mac to a crocodile and say, hunger satisfied? Go away now? No. If you put information out in drips, I'll give you a little fact and that's enough, you'll leave me alone. So the journalist says, well, wait a minute, this just shows what you're